You ready? Okay. All right. Good afternoon, and welcome to Lunching with Books. It's good to see all of you here today, and we have a treat in store for us today. The book that is being reviewed is Summer of 1969, the story of Cosette Juanita Gambrell, and it's written by Juanita Floyd and Sarah Berry. Just a little bit about the authors. Sarah Berry is a wife, mother, author, and publisher. She is the founder and CEO of Integrity Time, so we all have to behave here today. And this project began as a grassroots volunteer project when her oldest child started first grade at Church Street Elementary School. The curriculum has since spread to various schools around the United States. Summer of 1969 recently received a national award, Learning Magazine's Teacher's Choice Award for the family. That is very impressive. Sarah is a graduate of Millsaps College in Jackson, where she received a Bachelor of Science degree in education. She has written 15 books and curriculum projects, and she has 7 children. That is quite an accomplishment. I cannot imagine. Bethel Road, they've been published by Bethel Road Publications and Seedbed Publishing, and her most recent book, Tap Code, is being published by Zondervan, a division of HarperCollins, and we're all looking forward to that book also. The other author is no stranger to any of us here, and that's Juanita Gambrell Floyd, and she is currently employed by Create Foundation as the Vice President of Finance and Administration. Her responsibilities include the oversight of nearly $100 million in assets of the foundation, managing all financial aspects of the operation of the foundation, and supervising 3 employees. She has been employed with the foundation for over 31 years. On her 20th anniversary with Create, the foundation established the Bernice Gambrell Endowment Fund in the amount of $10,000 in honor of her mother and her 20 years of employment. She is active in community affairs and serves on several boards. She served as Tupelo High School PTO president for the school year 2011-2012 and was selected as Parent of the Year. In 2008, she was honored as the Tupelo Trailblazer of the Year. In January 2016, she was highlighted on WTVA for the Positively Mississippi segment featuring local heroes during Black History Month. She is a graduate of Northeast Community College, the University of Mississippi, with a bachelor's degree in accounting. She is an active member of Jesus New Testament Holiness Church in the Red Hill community of Union County. And she is the daughter of the late Frank and Bernice Gambrell of the Red Hill community. And she has 2 sisters, Barbara and Valerie, 3 brothers, Wade, Frank, and Ray, and she has some cousins here. And so she's got lots of family represented today. She has served for several years as a motivational and inspirational speaker, so we shall all leave here today, I know, being inspired. And as a child, she always aspired to motivate and inspire others because so many role models in her community encouraged, inspired, and motivated her. And I think you will find this book to be most inspiring. And I will turn this over to the authors, and we will start with Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us today, and we are honored to be able to do this and be able to tell you a little bit of our friendship and how we got together to do this book. But I'm going to be very brief because I don't want you to miss a second of Juanita's story. But I did want to tell you a little bit about how I got involved in this project. In June of 2016, I was sitting in an airport coming back from a family vacation, and I was watching a news report, and it was once again the story of a terrible situation about racial dividing. And for whatever reason, sadly we hear these stories quite a bit, but that day in the airport I sat there and I started to cry, and and these thoughts were coming in my head. The first question that came in my head in a form of a prayer is, how come, Lord? And I know as an author that's not quite the correct English way of saying it, but when you're talking to the Lord, you can say whatever you want. And I said, how come, Lord? How come this is still an issue? This should not be. And then as I sat there, another question in the form of a prayer came to my mind, and it was, how long, Lord? How long are these issues going to still be present in our lives? And what came to my mind was a story of Isaiah, and when he was called by the Lord to go do something, and the story goes that he had a vision of the Lord sitting high on the throne, and he saw the angels, and he was overcome with the greatness of that vision, and then he heard some words, and it was the Lord speaking, and he was saying, who will go for us? Whom shall we send, and who will go for us? And Isaiah speaks up. He says, here am I, send me. And as I thought about that story, I realized that Oswald Chambers says that Isaiah just simply overheard a conversation that the Lord was having among the Trinity, and that the calling of the Lord is not just about giftedness or about ability or about influence, but the calling of the Lord has to depend on the condition of our ears. Are we in a point where we can overhear, what He wants to do? So having all these things going on in my mind that day in the airport, I prayed a prayer, and it was in the form of a question. Also in that prayer was, what can I do? I mean, I'm a mom, I'm, got 7 kids, and I mean, what can I do? I'm busy washing clothes. I don't get out as much as I'd like to, and what can I do? And the question just sort of sat there, and I didn't get an answer. But exactly, almost to the day a year later, I was once again on a family vacation, and I got a call from a mutual friend of ours, Scott Reed, and he said, I've been thinking about, I was talking to Juanita Floyd. Do you know her? And I said, I've met her, but I really don't know her. And he said, have you ever heard her story? And I said, no, I haven't. And he said, you need to hear her story. And so he put us in connection with each other. And when I got back from vacation, we contacted each other, and I said, well, just email me some of your writings and your story, which he did. And I was blown away. I was so inspired. And right after I read one in particular that told the story about her mother's influence, had to go run some errands, and as I was driving, all of a sudden these words started just coming in my brain like a download. And I had to pull over in the Lowe's parking lot, and out of my huge messy car, I couldn't find a single scrap of paper. Go figure that. And so I grabbed my phone, and I started writing the words on the notes section of my phone. And from that, we connected, and we worked together to put this book together in the form of a children's book. And but it is not just for children. It is for all ages. It is for everyone. Now, my portion of this book, really was simply to just help get it together and then hand it over and let Juanita go for it, because she is so gifted and so equipped to share her message. And we realized a couple weeks ago that 1969, that was how many years ago? 50. So this summer, 1969, was 50 years ago, exactly. And so I leave you, I want you to hear her story, but I leave you with these same questions that I felt that day in the airport is, how come? And how long? And what can I do? And so those are the questions that I had to wrestle with, and I'm just going to throw it on you and let you wrestle with them also. And I think that after you hear her story, you will be inspired to want to do something as well. So.
Thank you so much, Sarah. To all of you, thank you for coming out today. And thank you to my cousins and family, my sister. Thank you so much for your support. My story revolves around the journey of a woman who understood the power of love. She was a woman who influenced, inspired, and made a difference with only an 8th grade education. She was an unsung hero. She believed in a dream. The woman had this beautiful baby girl many years ago. At the age of 9 months, the baby should have died, but the Lord visited the mother in a dream and told her what to do to save her. The young baby should have died at the age of 14 when she almost drowned. She should have become a vegetable. She should have been brain dead due to the lack of oxygen for over 10 minutes. Later, as an adult, she should have died in 3 car accidents, one in which she was told she would be blind in her right eye. The baby girl should have died from toxemia while giving birth to her 3 children. The mother knew that the Lord had plan and purpose for that baby's life. The mother's first job was working in the cotton fields. Her second job, working as a maid. Some employers treated her as a human being. Others treated her quite ugly and unfairly. Her sweet, loving husband died, leaving her a single parent. She then worked at a factory for over 20 years, standing on her feet day after day. Her hands and feet were gnarled and arthritic. Her fingernails and toenails were fungus covered, but she kept on working. She knew she had to provide for her family. She believed in her dream that her children would fare better than she had. Then school integration happened. The mother began to prepare her baby girl for the change. You're looking at that baby girl. That baby girl is me. How does a mother prepare a child for difficult circumstances? And how does a mother create in the child an unshakable confidence in who he or she is and what that child can achieve? 50 years ago, during the summer of 1969, the pivotal year of school integration, I just finished 1st grade at B.F. Ford Elementary in New Albany. My mother told me that I was going to a new school for 2nd grade. I asked if my friends would be there. She said probably not, but I would make new friends. Every day during the summer of 1969, my mother asked me, "What is your name, your given name?" And I'd say, "Mama, you know, what is your name, your given name?" I would reply, "My name is Cosette Juanita Gambriel." While she was working outside in the garden, I would often ask her to play with me like she always did when she came home from work. But that summer, she always answered by saying no. Why don't you sit over there and read your books? This happened every day during that summer. In August, the night before school, my mother said to me, "You will meet new children. The only difference is your skin is brown and theirs is white, but you're all special children." We arrived at school. I was the only little black girl in the entire second grade at that time. Now, there were other black students, just not in my grade. My mother filled out the necessary papers. Then we walked together over to the teacher. She said to the teacher, "I trust you with my child. I am confident that you will protect her, teach her, and love her. By the way, when she is on the playground, would you allow her to carry her little satchel of books with her?" She then placed my hand in the teacher's hand. Those of you who are parents, imagine how my mother felt when she left her baby girl on the first day of school with white strangers, not knowing if she had prepared me enough or if I would survive the first day. She later told me that after leaving the classroom, as she walked down that long hallway with tears in her eyes, she never looked back. Because if she had, as any precious mother would do to protect her child, she would have scooped me up in her arms and ran. But she didn't. Later that day at recess, I went over to the merry-go-round to play. When the children would not play with me, I went over to the teacher, got my little satchel of books, and simply read. Other days on the playground, many of the children called me names, and you can imagine what they called me. Guess what I said? "Oh no, that's not my name. My name is Cosette Juanita Gambrell." Later, when I would tell my mother what happened each day on the playground, my mother would always gently say, "Give it a few more days. These are children. They will want to play." I now am amazed by the wisdom of my mother that summer before school began. Her unusual tactics actually had a very subtle purpose to prepare me for the trials I would face. I'm happy to say that I went to school with those same students from the 2nd to the 12th grade. We became best friends, and they honored me in high school by electing me as an officer to many clubs. They even voted me as most likely to succeed. The administration allowed me to work in the school office, the school store, and guess who made the majority of intercom announcements to the entire school each day? I did. My mother was so wise by constantly saying to me, "You will be a light. You will love. You will not hate." Friends, every night I would hear my mother praying, "Lord, let the heart of a child come forth." After I got older, I realized my mother knew that if the heart of a child came forth, the children would not see color. I want you to imagine if that was your precious daughter or granddaughter, your son or grandson. How would you feel if your child was hated and mistreated because of the color of their skin? When I would say, "Mama, the students don't like me. Mama, I hate them," Mama would say, "You gotta love, baby. You can't hate. Mama, the boys stick out their legs and trip me. They throw spitballs at me every day." When I go to the restroom, the white girls say, "Here comes the end. Let's see what stall she uses, because we don't want to use the same stall." My mother kept on praying. Can you imagine Mama's pain? But she kept saying to me, "You still must love." The majority of the time in school, I was the only black in my classes. Mama talked to me all the time about an education. She said, "You must get an education. That's the only way you can do better than me." The day I graduated from Ole Miss, I walked up to Mama, who had tears streaming down her face, and I said, "Mama, this is yours. You deserve this degree." Because of the late Mrs. Bernice Wade Gambrell, I can stand at this podium to try to make a difference and hopefully leave this world better than I found it. I can try to encourage, motivate, and inspire all of us to love, to give back, to have compassion on people, respect, and racial harmony with each other. I pray I inspire you to make the best out of your lives and to make a difference while on your journey. I pray I inspire you as my mother inspired me. I pray I inspire you to love as never before. The influence that we have on others can span years and generations. A few years ago, I received a phone call from my son's homeroom teacher asking me to come to the school so that she could speak personally to me about a matter. Those of us as parents, the dreaded phone call from a teacher. I arrived at the school with a very heavy heart, concerned about my son. The teacher thanked me for coming, and these were her words to me. "There's a boy whose name is John. John is white. The children call him a nerd. John has severe acne. When he walks down the hall, they clear a path around him. He sits alone in the cafeteria. When he raises his hand to answer a question, the kids laugh at him because of his accent. I need to tell you that your son has made a difference in John's life. Out of all the children, black or white, rich or poor, your son started sitting with John in the cafeteria. Tyler is late for his own classes so that he can walk John to his classes. Mrs. Floyd, John is now a happy boy." With tears streaming down my face, I left the classroom and went to my car, where I thank God for my mother, who years earlier instilled in me the value of making a difference in the lives of others, regardless of race, black or white, or socioeconomic status, rich or poor. Her teachings have now spanned another generation. My mother was the best thing that ever happened to me and to my family. Tyler told me he and the young man reunited on Facebook. The young man thanked Tyler for being his friend in high school. Tyler said to me, "Mama, I believe John was on the verge of committing suicide in school." So you see, by your beliefs, by your words, by your actions, by your love that you show, you can lift the spirits of those you meet and truly make a difference in their lives. My mother's story epitomizes her role as an effective leader. You see, if not for my mother's encouragement during elementary and high school, I don't know where I would be. You see, I never had another black teacher after first grade. All my teachers were white at Northeast and Ole Miss. but I made it. The odds were stacked against me. I want you to know that I stand on the shoulders of those white teachers at East Union who didn't see the color of my skin. They saw a student and employed their vocation as teachers to care, encourage, and motivate me to do my best. I want you all to know I made it with the help of the Lord, my mother, and those white teachers. If I'd given up, I would not have been successful. I would not be working as a professional. I would not have a job. As a scared little girl, I would not be managing the assets of Create Foundation. I have to give a special shout out to my boss, Mike Claiborne, to the rest of the staff, Louis, Katie, and Dana. Thank you all so much. They've all been so supportive of me, and not only me, but my children as well. Thank you, Mike. Through my job, I never thought that I would be interacting with bank presidents, college presidents, hospital presidents, business owners, lawyers, and doctors. As a scared little girl, I never thought that the past president of Lee-Itawamba Community College would contact me and ask me to be the commencement speaker for a college ceremony. I stood before hundreds of graduates and hundreds of people. As a little girl, I never thought I would be standing before audiences sharing my mother's story. Listen, I never thought I would be standing in the Lee County Library speaking to you all. I never thought I would be writing a monthly column in the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal about my opinions. And as Sarah said, Scott introduced me to this wonderful lady and friend, Sarah Berry. Sarah, as she said, used my presentation to write the story in children's book form. We collaborated on Mama's story and published the summer of 1969. As a scared little girl, many of you have the book, you've seen it. But let me tell you, as a scared little second grader, I never thought that I would become an author. That scared little girl is an author. My son Tyler said, "Mama, what a surreal moment to see your name on a book and on Amazon." I celebrate the magic of education. It has opened so many doors for me. I celebrate the magic of writing. I never imagined that people right here in this community would donate monies to help get this book into schools and libraries. To date, over 5,000 books have been donated. And then I never dreamed that this book would be submitted to the Teacher's Choice Awards. And exactly 50 years later, we have won a national award in the category of family for 2019. Believe me, this would not have happened if not for my mother's teachings and instructions in our family. You see, all of us have choices. I could have easily been bitter, a racist, unproductive, no motivation, no love for people. Louis, I could have been a dropout. A part of the statistics in Mississippi. I could have allowed all of those negative situations in my life to affect me. Just as my mother impacted my life, each of you continue to have a chance to impact this world with your abilities to make a difference in the lives of people, you have the power to influence the many people you come in contact with daily. You see, it doesn't matter about a person's race, nationality, or socioeconomic status. What does matter is you can effectively make a difference in someone's life. How do I know? Let me tell you about a great leader in our community who helped me. Jack Reed Sr., over 34 years ago, asked this question to an all-white, mostly male board at Create. Why can't we hire Juanita? She has a degree. She's qualified. She's trustworthy. Why can't we hire her? I move that we hire her. And those of you who knew Mr. Reed knew that somebody seconded that motion. Because of that one decision from one person, my quality of life, my family's quality of life changed and improved. While standing in the bookstore almost 2 years ago, I recall the decision that Jack Reed Sr. made on my behalf for me to be hired at Create Foundation. And how ironic that 32 years later, I was standing in his store autographing books. One decision by one person. So you see, you can effectively change someone's life. Joshua Henry Jones, a novelist, said, "None of us are responsible for our births." Think about it. But all of us are responsible with what we do with our lives. As my mother stated many years ago, the night before school began, our skin is brown, yours is white, but we are all special people. We all have the opportunity and the responsibility to make a difference in the quality of life for people. On a recent NPR episode, U.S. Senator Cory Booker shared an experience that made a huge difference in his life. He said, learning from people like Miss Virginia Jones, a tenant organizer in the building where I lived as a law student, and the same building in which her son had been murdered. Miss Jones said, "Describe the neighborhood." And I described it. The drug dealing, the projects, the abandoned buildings. And she said to me in a very curt way, "Boy, you need to understand that the world you see outside of you is a reflection of what you have inside of you. And if you're one of those people who only sees darkness, despair, that's all there's ever going to be. But if you see hope, opportunity, if you're stubborn enough to every time you open your eyes, see love and the face of God, then you can be a change agent here. Then you can make a difference." I thought about my mother. She could have intentionally taught her children to hate because of the world she lived in. Limited education, low wages, being told by her employer that she didn't iron enough that day and didn't get paid. Walking through the back door, seeing the hate on parents' faces as she prepared me for integration. Friends, my mama chose to see a different world filled with hope, opportunity, and forgiveness. She saw love in the face of God. I didn't know it at the time, but she was a change agent. She was my example in removing barriers. As a little girl, I was given the charge by my mother to make a difference and to love all people. And I said, "How, Mama?" She said, "By loving people." That has been the driving force for me to make a difference and not to allow barriers of my race or my gender to affect what I could offer. Every barrier that came my way and comes my way, I find a way to see the good in it. Listen, as a child, I could have said those white children were mean to me, so I refused to learn, but I didn't. I knew my identity because of that woman who only had an 8th grade education. I knew who I was and am. I could have allowed those barriers to stop me. I pray every day you see hope and opportunity to help and love someone. In closing, this is a favorite quote of mine. An unknown author said, "There are 2 dates on every tombstone. There's a birth date, and there is a date of death. And every human being is guaranteed those 2 dates. But that little dash that lies between those 2 dates, or those 2 numbers, is what defines our lives. So make your dash count. Live, really live." If you look in front of you, you've been given a dash. Look on your tables. Pick up your dash. Hold it in your hands. Your dash is in your hands. Think about your dash. My mother's dash made a huge difference. Ask yourselves, what can I do with my dash? Can my dash change my little corner of the world? What will our dash say about us? Did we empower others? Did we fight for what is right? Did we provide servant leadership to mankind? Were we leaders? Are we the best supervisors, employees, employers, or bosses we can be? Did we give back to our communities? Did we love everybody? The question is, and I'm doing just like Sarah, I'm tossing it out here to you. The question is, how can I make a difference with the dash that I hold in my hand? I hope your dash gives you renewed energy to continue your work and service on behalf of people just like my mother. Friends, I thank God for my mother's dash. I thank God for 50 years ago this summer, for the summer of 1969. And I'm thankful to each of you for coming out to support me. And I failed to mention my daughter being here. Thank you, Tyra, for coming. Thank you all for listening to me.
They have books for sale, and I hope you will, do you have a question? Anybody have a question? Okay, they have books for sale, and they will be signing them for you, so anyway, thank you for coming, that was truly inspiring.
Thank you.